Eagle, proud symbol of our country, keep on flying high up above, and together we will stand and we'll restore the land. Oh, Eagle, keep on flying, Eagle.
Welcome in to Listen to the Eagle. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Bert Ott Carruth coming to you from the Reed's Metal Studio. Paul Ott down in the Scenic Rivers region at beautiful Lake Dixie Springs. Hello, Paul Ott.
Well, Bert, sounds like there's a lot going on in this area here this week, brother.
Well, Paul Ott, there is always something going on in the Scenic Rivers region. I know we had a big bow event, big bow competition, and tonight is one of our favorite nights. It's youth night here at Listen to the Eagle, and we've got one of our favorite guests. We call him the co-host. Mr. Landon Moore's here, and I believe he was at the shoot or knows about the shoot. And Paul Ott, one of our great sponsors, we get to have them in here once a month, is MDOT. And tonight we've got a representative from MDOT, Mr. Josh Stubbs. Josh, welcome to Listen to the Eagle.
Thank you for having me.
Man, absolutely. So look, we were talking before the show. You gave us your title. I'm going to let you share that title. And it's not your typical MDOT position, so I'd like to learn a little bit more about your position, and I know our listeners will as well, because you and I shared some things that I thought were very interesting before the show started.
Sure. So I'm the rails engineer for the Department of Transportation, and basically what it is it's my primary role is railroad crossings. It kind of tends to be a catch-all umbrella for pretty much anything and everything railroad related.
Railroads.
Everything railroads.
So as you and I talked about, especially if any of our listeners are out there in development or on city councils or anything like that, we understand that the railroad is the end-all, be-all and controls everything when it comes to that. Are you kind of a representative for which side?
Oftentimes I'm pretty much the liaison. Sometimes there's not really if it's sometimes between a city or a county and the railroad, I really don't have much of a role other than putting the city or county in the right spot.
With the railroad.
Because oftentimes the railroads are kind of a nameless, faceless organization. They don't know who to talk to. They just know that they need to talk to the railroad. Well, right. I have contacts at virtually all the railroads.
Yeah, who is the railroad?
Exactly. And all of them have, they usually have some sort of a public projects manager, like an engineer that handles specific things.
Is that like
projects.
districts?
They cover territories. Most of them are, depends on the railroad, but much of them cover different states. Yeah. How many states depends on the railroads. They also have some governmental affairs folks. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for, what you're trying to accomplish, as to who you're going to try and contact at the railroad.
So if you're out there a little bit scratching your head going, what in the world are they talking about, the railroad and working with MDOT and working with cities? Well, think about this. Any building or development that's going close to a railroad, the railroad has its own set of, I guess, developmental rules and setbacks and things like that. And if there is I was sharing just in my little community, we've got a major intersection that the railroad crosses. Mm-hmm. And right down the road is a major loading area for the railroads. So trains back up and they stop there. Now, the railroad did come over one street down and build a bridge. But in a town of 50,000, when that one major intersection, which stays blocked a lot by the railroad, it can cause major traffic issues in towns. And that's what, do you help with that in different communities or?
Sometimes.
Or does MDOT get involved in that?
We do, but it's oftentimes it's not necessarily, MDOT has no control over train movements. We can't go out there and make the train move.
So I don't call you if there's a train just
You can
stop.
call me.
But you can't do anything.
I can call the railroad company and I can ask them to move I can make them aware of the problem. And if it's a one-off, if it's just like it happened one time, that's usually they'll say okay and they'll promise to never do it again. If it's a reoccurring thing, that's when we try and find a solution. And that's when the person operating the train probably doesn't really care, but somebody higher up the totem pole,
sure.
They do have some like governmental affairs folks that would be a little more helpful to try and find a solution.
So what I am hearing for our listeners and myself, that if we do have a problem at an intersection or something to do with the railroad, we can call MDOT, and because of your relationships and your title, you can reach out. Not necessarily.
We can try.
Right.
I can't promise you we can do anything.
Right.
But we can try, and we can talk to the railroad companies.
Well, look, before we go to break, can't thank you enough. We love what MDOT not only does for Listen to the Eagle, but for our state. I know there's a little bit outside of your realm, but I know there's a lot of projects going on around the states. Normally, and you can share, is there any major projects that y'all want to talk about for our listeners in the great state of Mississippi? And or can you give the different social media outlets and website for our listeners to go to find out what is going on with MDOT?
GoMDOT is the main webpage, and the projects that I'm involved with from an MDOT standpoint are usually the ones that have a highway project with a railroad crossing within their project limits. And so those are fairly small. I think we only have a few right now. The big one right now is Colony Park over in Ridgeland.
Yeah.
Where they just expanded we just expanded I-55 through Madison and Ridgeland. Now we're putting in a boulevard style roadway over between 55 and 51.
Great.
So that one's coming in.
Good deal.
Yes, sir.
Well, look, thank you for all that you do, and thank MDOT for not only sponsoring Listen to the Eagle, but what they do for the great state of Mississippi.
Not a problem.
Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
You want to be a part of the show? It's Youth Night. We got Landon Moore, we got Paul Ott, and Bert Ott Carruth coming to you live from the Reed's Metal Studio. 1-800-251-5891. That's 1-800-251-5891 or pound 444 if you C-Spire. Customer inspired like we are. I want to invite each and every one of you, get your smartphone that I know you got from C-Spire, go to the App Store, search, Listen to the Eagle. Download Listen to the Eagle app so you never miss us, and we'll be right back.
Legendary entertainer Paul Ott brings you his greatest hits. Get them all in this special CD-DVD combo set, including Old Blue,
Many and a many of an early morn.
I Am Mississippi,
I am everything good you have ever dreamed about.
Right Arm of America, and many more. To order, visit listentotheeagle.com or send $20 check or money order to Paul Ott's Greatest Hits, Box 219, Summit, Mississippi 39666.
Don't you touch that dial. It is Listen to the Eagle, your live call-in radio show on hunting, fishing, God, family, and country, and anything Paul Ott wants to talk about. Bert Ott Carruth coming to you live from the Reed's Metal Studio. Want to invite each and every one of you, go to reedsmetals.com for all your metal roofing or building needs. Maybe you got a little hunting camp you want to construct out there on your land. Call Reed's Metals. They got just what you need, or go to reedsmetals.com. Well, Paul Ott, as always, it's an honor. We've got the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Got a representative, Mr. Keith Mills. Keith, welcome to Listen to the Eagle. I understand you're in Fisheries.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, Keith. We're here at Listen to the Eagle. Tell us what's going on in your department a little bit across the state of Mississippi.
Well, it's kind of, slow time of year for fisheries. It's kind of hot. And,
Yeah.
Fish are kind of in the dog days, but we're fixing to get into the cool down. Fall fishing, he'll be coming up soon. I normally work on the flood control reservoirs, and we're starting our fall drawdowns on these reservoirs, Arcabutla, Sardis, Enid, and Grenada.
Yes, sir.
Sardis has started its fall drawdown. The other three lakes are going to be a little bit later, two of them because they're a little bit below their rule curve because we've been drier up here than South Mississippi. And Arcabutla doesn't start its drawdown till September 1st. So,
Keith, educate me a little bit. Our listeners may already know this answer. I don't, but when I drive over the reservoir here at, in the Jack Madison area, and then also up at Sardis, right at the point to where the water is just flowing and gushing, I don't guess you call it a dam. I'm not sure what you call it, but it seems to be the place where there are many, many, many fishermen. Why is that such a hotbed? Why are those areas so hot for fishermen?
Well, it is a dam, and the water comes through what they call a spillway.
Right.
And that flow of water two things are occurring. One is some of the fish from the reservoir actually go through the spillway chute and end up in below the dam in the spillway.
And that's normally where you see the fishermen, right there below.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a place where fish are drawn through the dam, some of them into the spillway, and a place where fish in the river below the dam come up river and are blocked from further upstream movement by the dam. So, you have fish from both above and below, and those fish, particularly forage fish like shad, that are coming through that spillway are an important feed source for other fish like catfish, white bass, in the case of, say, Ross Barnett, I guess, stripers and hybrids. So you've got a lot of, kind of a concentration of fish in those areas, and that brings in a concentration of fishermen.
That makes sense, and I appreciate that. I've just always, growing up down there in the Scenic Rivers region, I always found me a little place, and I didn't want anybody else to be around there.
No, absolutely.
But when you ride by these dams,
yeah,
I mean, they're shoulder to shoulder lined up, getting after it. And I knew something had to be going on.
That's exactly right.
Well, Keith, we got about a minute before we go to break and let you go. First of all, anything you want to share with the state of Mississippi from your department, and then second, if you'll tell our listeners where to go to find out even more information, and maybe if we kind of whet their appetite on what you just explained and they want a little more, tell them where they can go.
Well, you can go to our website at mdwfp.com. Of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter. And also, as far as what's going on with our agency, this time of year, we're Fisheries is gearing up for our fall sampling. We usually do electrofishing, trap netting, trawl sampling, quite a bit of our predictive sampling that we're making our regulation, our management and regulation decisions and recommendations on is going to be going on, within the next couple of months. So that's a big thing going on with the Fisheries Bureau.
Paul Ott's The Day of the Lord CD-DVD combo set is our free gift to you and your family. The Day of the Lord includes songs like I Am That I Am, Don't Cry for Me, and They Could Not Stop His Love, as well as special sermons by Tom Lester, Dr. Larry LeBlanc, and others. Paul's special holy visits and the printed Don't Cry for Me poster are also included. Get yours by calling 1-800-684-9486 or by letter to New Day of the Lord Ministries Foundation, Box 219, Summit, Mississippi 39666.
Welcome back. Listen to the Eagle. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Bert Ott Carruth coming to you live from the Reed's Metal Studio, alongside Paul Ott down in the Scenic Rivers region at beautiful Lake Dixie Springs. And as always, once a month, we got Mr. Landon Moore in-house for a little co-hosting, and I always appreciate you. As a matter of fact, you reached out, and I think you got a very interesting guest.
I do. This guy is Josh and I have never met, but I promise you, when he comes on here in a minute, people are going to know who I'm talking about. If you've ever seen the Outdoor Channel and seen different shows, he's all over Facebook, all over YouTube. Josh was well, I tell you what, Josh, you tell your story, and we'll kind of end on the gift that God has blessed you with as a result of that hunting accident.
Perfect. It's a pleasure to be on the radio with you guys. So, my name is Josh Carney. I'm out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I always grew up hunting and fishing. My parents, my dad, my uncle, and granddad would always take me out as a kid, and I just grew up in the sport of hunting, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with being out there in nature and enjoying the sport. We started out having small game animals, started hunting small game, so we had rabbit dogs, squirrel dogs, and I fell in love with being out there hearing a pack of dogs run. I mean, it's phenomenal to hear. I just fell in love with being out there. That was my passion. That's where I fell in love with. That's what I wanted to do all the time, every day, and around the clock. So, I was like, growing up, like I wanted to be out in the outdoors more. There has to be more to hunt. So I discovered this thing called turkey hunting. And if you turkey hunting, it's very addicting.
Yes, it
And
is.
Yeah, it is.
I started watching television shows about turkey hunting, and they made it look easy. That you get a box, you rub 2 sticks together, and they make these turkey calls, and the bird comes in. I'm like, that can't be too hard. I mean, it's just a bird coming in the sticks rubbing. I mean, I think it's easy.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things on TV that are created. And I discovered growing up. It's not as easy as it looks on TV sometimes.
That's right.
But I wanted to do it. I wanted to extend my season as long as possible. So we go to Walmart, buy these plate calls, the pot call, and all kind of calls, just to try and be able to turkey hunt, because turkey season is coming up. And we go to church one morning, April 17th, 2005. We go to church that morning, and I've aggravated my dad, to the point where he's like, all right, like, we're just going to go. So we go turkey hunting. And the spot we grew up small game hunting. And we go down this gravel road. It's turkey feathering road. We go and we sit up, and I set my dad up, and I sit on the tree about 30 yards apart from each other. And first turkey hunt, we didn't know what we were doing. And I hear something. My dad starts calling, and it sounds like somebody stepped on a chihuahua. And I just signaled to him. I was like, hey, just stop. That sounds awful. No offense. Horrible. So I start calling, and Bert comes in behind the tree that I was sitting on. It was a silent, just came in silent. And my dad saw the bird, but he didn't see me. So when he shot, he actually shot me.
Mm.
So my body goes numb. I can't feel anything. There's ringing in my ear. I see my dad running over to me, and he picks me up. Like, Dad, you shot me. And he picks me up. He's running. He's carrying me out of the woods, and he's running, trying to get on the phone with emergency help. He calls and gets somebody on the phone, and he tells them our locations. Like, I just shot my son. And at this point, like, I'm in his arms. I'm bleeding out. This is it for me. I'm thinking, this is it. It's over. So I'm like, God, just protect my dad. That's all. This is it for me. So I get into the back of the ambulance, and I black out. And I wake up, bright light. This beautiful blonde lady comes up. She's like, Josh, you okay? I was like, are you an angel? She's like, no, I'm your curse. I'm like, dang, I was your wing number. What's up, girl? So they come in and bring doctors in, and they get me stable, and it's like, well, you're in a hunting accident, you shot, and they fly me out to New Orleans to Children's Hospital, and I start doing recovery there. So at this point, I have a bullet hit my esophagus, so I have a tube down my throat, so a breathing tube, so I can breathe. And the doctor come in one day, he's like, Josh, well, you've been shot, so you're paralyzed. You won't be able to walk. So, it was heartbreaking for me to hear. And a couple days later, he comes back, he's like, well, that tube's been in your throat for so long, you're going to need a trach. You won't be able to talk again.
Mm.
And he told me that it upset me, and I was mad. And I pulled a tube out my throat. I was like, no, you're wrong. And the doctors were shocked. It's like, well, what just happened? You're not supposed to be able to pull a tube out my throat. And when I did it altered my vocal cords, so they never really matured all the way. So after spending a couple months in a couple more weeks in hospital, I stayed in hospital 3 months. I spent a couple more weeks after that in hospital. They finally released me, and I got back home. Everybody wanted to baby me, and be like, we're gonna take care of you. I was like, that's not me. Just no. Like, they're like, what do you want to do? Like, I want to go back hunting. Because, I had a pack of dogs that I felt like I was neglecting because, I couldn't do anything for them, but I was sitting in the house, trying to figure out what to do with myself. So 2 weeks after getting in the house, I went right back hunting, and I never stopped. And now, it came with a lot of challenges and obstacles, but getting over those challenges and obstacles made it so much more rewarding. So after discovering, after getting back to the outdoors, I went to an expo show, and the guy was trying to sell me a turkey call, and I didn't want to purchase turkey calls. So I was like, man, I can do it with my mouth, and I didn't know that I could do it. So the guy called me out. He's like, well, let's hear it, and I did a turkey call with my natural voice, and the guy couldn't believe it, and they ran me away from the booth because they were trying to sell turkey calls. So I went to another booth, and a guy was like, well, what can you do? I was like, I don't know. I just learned that 10 minutes ago. So, people are like, well, can you do a turkey call? Well, I started listening to other animals, and people like, well, let's try and get you to do this one and do that one. So I started studying vocalizations of animals, and along the process, I learned how to mimic animals with my natural voice because of my accent, pulling that tube out of my throat, alter my vocal cords, which allows me to make animal sounds.
Wow.
And I discovered that by telling someone no that I wasn't going to purchase, a turkey call from them.
Well, let's hear some of them, Josh. Let me hear your turkey, and then you just kind of do what you feel like doing.
Perfect. I do a turkey call.
Wow. There's a turkey in that studio.
Yeah, Josh. What about your goose call? This is one I love so much.
Perfect. I'm gonna do I'll do a Canadian goose, and I'll do a speckle belly.
Okay.
I need that to get down lower.
What'd you say?
I said I need that goose to get a little lower so I can shoot him. He's too high.
Here's a speckle belly. He's gonna be way up there for you.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Carney. Josh, if anybody wanted to find out more, I know you're on Facebook. Is there any other social media or a website that our listeners could find out more about your story and what you're doing now?
Go to www.SonoftheSouthTV.com. That's Son, S-O-N, of the South, TV.com. All my social media links are on there. My traveling schedule for what we're going to be hunting, or seminars, and things that we're going to be doing this season. They're going to be on there. And, I'm very active on social media, Facebook and Instagram, my two major networks. So I stay active on those. So that's the easiest way to reach me.
Well, man, what an inspiration you are to not only to our listeners, but just the whole nation of hunters and fishermen and just the human race. That's just an awesome story.
It's awesome. Josh, thank you so much for calling, man. That's we need to hear a feel-good story like that sometimes, and Josh, we can't thank you enough, man.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yep. Y'all don't go anywhere. We got Going Down Memory Lane in the Scenic Rivers region with Carl Ott from the Car Lot. We'll be right back.
Legendary entertainer Paul Ott brings you his greatest hits. Get them all in this special CD-DVD combo set, including Old Blue,
Many and a many of an early morn.
I Am Mississippi,
I am everything good you have ever dreamed about.
Right Arm of America, and many more. To order, visit listentotheeagle.com or send $20 check or money order to Paul Ott's Greatest Hits, Box 219, Summit, Mississippi 39666.
Welcome in to Listen to the Eagle. Bert Ott Carruth live in the Reed's Metal Studio. Got Paul Ott in the Scenic Rivers region on beautiful Lake Dixie Springs. And as always, we've enjoyed having Landon Moore in here, co-host on Youth Night. And now it's time to go down to the Scenic Rivers region and go down memory lane with Carl Ott from the Car Lot at Noel Daniels Motors. Now, Carl, I'm going to combine a couple of memories to get an answer from you, okay? So the first one is you and I were so fortunate. We love sports. Not only we love the outdoors, but we love sports. So we got to play at the East Macomb Gym under David Smith, or where everybody called him Coach Smitty, at Sluters. You remember playing for Sluters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do I ever?
So you and I, from about the 4th grade to 6th grade, played for Smitty and Sluters down there in the Scenic Rivers region. Well, then you and I also had a wonderful aunt who lived in Osika, Mississippi, right down on the Mississippi-Louisiana line, Aunt Margaret.
Aunt Margaret.
So, and you and I would stay with her from time to time, especially when both of our parents would go out of town. Smitty,
Yes, we did.
Smitty had a big fishing trip for the basketball team. So Aunt Margaret took us to the local store, and I forget the store, you may remember, and we bought tackle box, fishing rods, baits. Is any of this hitting home with you?
Oh, you want me to finish it?
Yeah, so you take it from there, because now here's my question. I want to know where that camp was we went to and what body of water did we fish in that weekend.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we went to Roses or somewhere. I don't know, somewhere there locally.
And the Rhinestone Cowboy was out front.
We were in her Chevy Chevelle or something, and we were both like, I mean, really, Aunt Margaret's taking us out here, but hey, I was glad to have her. We weren't walking. So I was thinking, Bert, I think it was the Lumens. I think it was Coach Stan Lumen. It was the Lumens camp on the Bogachitta River.
Bogachitta River. Man, I can remember we had a time we fished, and it was one of those things, Landon, where you could actually wade out in the middle, and we were fishing and catching fish, and it was the whole team. That's something I'll never forget, Carl.
Absolutely.
Well, we were for sure going fishing, and bless Aunt Margaret's heart for having to deal with us two yahoos and taking us to Roses.
Well, don't worry, Aunt Margaret can handle us. Trust me, she can handle our parents.
Love you, brother.
Aunt Margaret, yeah.
Take care. Love you. Y'all go see Carl out on the car lot at Noel Daniels, and we'll see all of y'all next week.